Hello everyone and welcome to today's video. Today I'm doing a too early 2028 presidential election prediction between Vice President-elect, about to be Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, and Maryland Democratic Governor, Wes Moore. This is a really interesting matchup because I think this is one that could conceivably actually be the 2028 Democratic matchup between two younger candidates, both in, I believe, 45 or 46 years old, or a little bit younger. So both of these candidates I think are very interesting and something that I do definitely want to talk about. Now, when I have done every state over 15% margin of victory, aside from Maine's 2nd District, which I did put as likely Republican, this has J.D. Vance at 202, Wes Moore is at 177. And full transparency on the record here, in my own interpretation, I do think Wes Moore is actually one of the better Democratic candidates for 2028. I think he would probably do one of the better jobs at getting out voters to vote for him and getting some voters back into his side. So this is going to be very interesting. I have Vance at 202, Wes Moore at 177, and I'm going to be going back to the 2024 election just for some basis and some of my results here. Starting with the state of New Jersey. Of course, New Jersey just voted very, actually narrowly, for Harris over Trump, 52% to 46%. Republicans are going to make an effort at winning this race, though I think a common theme of this video is I don't think Vance is going to do bad in a 2028 election, but I don't think he's going to do as well as Donald Trump did. So I know I've seen some videos saying New Jersey could potentially be a lean Democratic state. I think it still stays as likely Democratic, under 15%, but not below 5% for 2028. I think that's where New Jersey would start right now for me. A similar situation in the state of Virginia, where it was 52% to 46% for Harris versus Trump. I think J.D. Vance may actually do better in traditional swing states like Virginia, like Georgia, like Arizona than Trump will. But I'm not sure if Wes Moore is going to do really any worse than Kamala Harris did. He might even do better in a state like Virginia. So I think Virginia still stays probably in a likely Democratic category. This puts Moore at 204. Vance is at 202. Now we're going to move into some other states like the state of New Mexico and its 5 electoral votes. This just voted for Harris over Trump by about 6%. And I think in a Moore versus Vance election, I think this is going to be very, very similar and probably vote for Moore by about 5 to 6 points. Again, likely Democrat. Maine's going to be a very similar story statewide, where it voted 7 points for Harris over Trump. I think we would also see Maine at large vote for Wes Moore. This puts Moore up to 211. Vance is at 202. Now we're getting into the states that are more usually thought of as the pure battleground states. Starting with the state of Georgia and its 16 electoral votes, this is one that I think is actually going to be very, very close, where Donald Trump was able to win the state 51% to 49%. It's interesting because I think Trump actually, he did win Georgia back. He did do 2 points better in Georgia. I think J.D. Vance would actually do better in the state of Georgia than Donald Trump would. He did win it by 2%, which is a lean win. I think in 2028, Georgia may trend a little bit to the left due to the Atlanta area growing more in population and more Democratic. But I do think J.D. Vance would actually do a little bit better than Donald Trump in Georgia. So that puts Vance up to 218. Now we have the state of North Carolina, where Donald Trump did just win here by 3%, 51% to 48%. I believe this is his third or fourth election since 2008, where North Carolina voted by over 1% but under 5% as lean Republican. And I think in 2028, I don't expect any difference in this. I think J.D. Vance would win North Carolina in a lean Republican margin. This would have Vance at 234, Wes Moore at 211. The state of Minnesota and its 10 electoral votes voted for Kamala Harris 51% to 47%, a 4% win. That would be a lean Democratic margin. I'm not sure if Wes Moore will do much worse than this. He might even do a little bit better. I'm like on the line between making Minnesota likely Democratic and lean Democratic. I'm going to narrowly leave it as lean, but I think it is certainly possible. But I do think Minnesota would go for Wes Moore and lean Democratic. New Hampshire, I think, is a similar situation. This one only voted for Harris over Trump by about 3%. And I think this is going to be one that actually could be very close in 2028. And a shocker one, maybe. I'm actually going to have New Hampshire go for Wes Moore over J.D. Vance by under 1%. I think this could be an election where Republicans actually try their best to contest New Hampshire and it gets close. I do think Wes Moore wins it, but I do think it ends up going very, very narrowly. J.D. Vance's home state, the state of Ohio, voted for Donald Trump by 11 points. That is a likely Republican win. I think J.D. Vance will have something similar against Wes Moore in 2028, winning Ohio by about 12 to 13 points. This puts Vance at 251. Wes Moore is at 225. Now we're getting into the toss-up states that decided this year's presidential election as well. Starting with Nebraska's 2nd District, which voted for Kamala Harris over Donald Trump by about 5 points. I think J.D. Vance may actually be able to get some of these voters back that Trump did lose, but I don't think it's going to be anything substantial. I think Wes Moore wins Nebraska's 2nd District, I think by about a lean Democratic category. Now we're getting into the close states. We did just see the state of Nevada vote for Donald Trump over Kamala Harris by 4%, 51% to 47%. That would be about a 4-point win. I think let's even say if a state does swing, let's say Vance does about 1% worse than Donald Trump does, this would still be winning Nevada by about 3%, and that would be enough to make Nevada a lean Republican win. As for Arizona, it voted for Donald Trump over Kamala Harris 52% to 47%. That was a 5-point win for Trump over Harris. And again, let's say Vance does 1 to 2 points worse in Arizona, that would still be enough to be a lean Republican win in 2028 for Vance. I think I'm more confident right now going into 2028 that Vance would be able to win all of North Carolina, Georgia, Arizona, and Nevada again. The election would once again be decided in the Rust Belt. And this is where things get interesting because Wes Moore, I think, unlike some other Democratic candidates, I think Josh Shapiro has an appeal to the Rust Belt. I think Gretchen Whitmer may have an appeal to the Rust Belt. I think Wes Moore may potentially have that as well. Where I'm not so sure because Vance will also be representing the Trump administration, so it really is all contingent on what the Trump administration is able to do in the Rust Belt. Obviously, all hypothetical now. Republicans will say Vance will win all 3 states again. Democrats will say no, they'll lose all 3 states and the Democrats will win them. We're going to really have to wait and see how the Trump administration goes. But right now, Trump won Pennsylvania over Harris by about 1.7% or so. I'm going to say Vance does a little bit worse, but I still think he wins the state of Pennsylvania by under 1%. That gets him up to 287. Moore cannot reach 270 at this point, so I do think J.D. Vance would win the state of Pennsylvania over Wes Moore. The question is now Wisconsin and Michigan, where we did see Michigan actually vote by 1.4% for Trump over Harris. So that one swung a lot more Republican than I initially thought. Is the most Republican or second most Republican of the 3 Rust Belt states. That was obviously a big surprise. So I could see Michigan potentially flip back in 2028 against Wes Moore, but I am going to give Michigan as tilt for J.D. Vance. Now for the state of Wisconsin, things are very interesting here because Wisconsin, it was the least Republican of the 3. It did vote for Trump over Harris by 0.9%. Trump has been the nominee the last 3 elections, but he's still the only Republican in modern times to win Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. So can J.D. Vance, his vice president, bring that same level of energy and voter turnout and be able to win a state like Wisconsin? And these 3 states have voted in unison for every election, I believe, since the 1980s. And I'm very skeptical about breaking them up, but I'm really on the fence between giving the state of Wisconsin to Wes Moore instead of J.D. Vance. I'm very skeptical and I kind of want to do it, but I think I'm going to give Vance Wisconsin, which replicates the 2024 map, but I could realistically see Wes Moore maybe picking off a state like Wisconsin. I do think, I'll say this, I think Vance is stronger than Trump in terms of not alienating as many voters as Trump has, but I don't think Vance will be able to turn out as many people to the polls the way Donald Trump did. So I do think with Vance on top of the ticket instead of Trump, I don't think Vance will do as well in the Rust Belt states like Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, but I think percentage-wise, Vance could probably keep pace in North Carolina and Georgia and Arizona and Nevada. Maybe Nevada's a little bit weaker, but the Rust Belt is where I'm particularly interested to see is can Vance continue the momentum that Trump has built in these 3 Rust Belt states? That remains to be seen. I do think New Hampshire and Minnesota will continue to be close. I'm skeptical to see if New Jersey and Virginia and New Mexico will be close, but this is a very interesting prediction, and I wonder, obviously I'm doing this now in very early 2025. I'm interested to see if I do this in 2026 or 2027, how the Trump administration is going, if things are going really well or if things are not going so well. I'm interested to see how things are going to change, but for right now, before the Trump administration takes office, I think Vance would defeat Wes Moore 312 to 226. Pretty much a repeat of the 2024 map, but with more favorable margins actually towards the Democrats in the 3 Rust Belt states. But again, we're going to have to wait and see how things develop over the next 4 years. That'll do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to give this video a like and click subscribe. Interested in hearing what you think about this video and what you think this matchup would end up looking like. Remember, like and subscribe, and I hope to see you in a future video. That will do it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to give it a like. And if you really liked it, please remember to click the subscribe button. And make sure you turn post notifications on so you always get notified when I post a new video. That way you never miss one. Also, please remember to share this video with your friends and family if you really like the video. And remember to stay tuned because I'll be posting at least one video every single day leading up until Election Day. So I'd really appreciate it if you keep coming back and watching those videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in a future video.